Let me get psyched. Okay, I'm ready.
Too late. It's already on.
Oh, no.
Maybe before we went
Hi.
live, Tina said, wait, what do I say? Do I have to host the Postcast too? I went, yep, and hit live.
This is what they do to me. Like, don't I can't even go on vacation. They give me assignments. Anyway. So welcome to the Postcast.
Yeah, don't feel singled out because when Rhonda went on vacation, we wrote about her. So
That's true.
the moral
I'd
of the
rather have
story
an
is don't go
assignment.
on vacation. Yeah.
But she didn't have to write a whole novel.
Yeah, I have to tell you guys, I love those stories. Tina, when you were talking about John's beard flapping in the wind, I was laughing out loud. It was great. I really loved
I'm
it.
so disappointed that he cut it off.
Oh, don't be. We're all good with it.
I don't care. I don't have to kiss him.
Yeah.
Do you guys like beards? I like beards.
I don't mind a beard, but sometimes, you know how when you have long hair and your husband rolls over it when you're laying in bed? Well,
Yeah.
you know, rolling over on his beard was excruciating, apparently.
Yeah, I bet. So I like my husband's beard, but he's almost paranoid about it because he's always saying, does it make me look old? It's completely gray. So how am I supposed to answer that? Like, I don't think it makes him look old, but that's because I love him. You know what I mean? Like it's all completely gray.
Just tell him it makes him look sophisticated.
Distinguished.
Distinguished. Something like that.
But
Get
then
out the thesaurus.
He came home and he's like, so I was at work and I saw this guy walk by with a beard and he had it trimmed different. So I thought I would try it. And I was like, he trimmed it down to here so that it's almost like a thinner, like very 80s, like he looks like an old man now. And so then he asked me, what do you think? And I was like, I think I like it better the other way, but you know, you've done it now. So he goes, I like it. I said, all right then.
That's all that matters.
That's all that
I
matters.
really like my husband with a mustache.
What?
Yeah. He doesn't have one right now, but he used to, like a long time ago when we first got married. And I thought he looked very good with a mustache, but he doesn't like all the upkeep and whatever. He'd rather shave. So
my husband shaved off his beard once he had a goatee when we were first together, and then he shaved it off and left just the mustache. He goes, I thought I'd try something different. I said, without even thinking, I'm like, oh, you look like your dad. 10 minutes later, it was gone.
Oh, no.
He loves his dad. Don't get me wrong, but like at that point, his dad was all gray. Randy wasn't gray at that point, and he's just like, nope, done.
I like a beard or mustache, or well, not a mustache, but I like facial hair in general. I like to feel like I'm kissing a man, you know what I mean? And I like longer hair. Like my husband used to have hippie hair. Like he used to have hair to his butt. I never knew him. Although I think I did see him once because we met through work. So I think I saw him come in and talk to clients because I remember a long hair guy in our showroom, but I didn't know him. But by the time I met him, he had it all cut, but it was like long. I don't know how to explain it, but now he has to keep it short because it's too hot when he's working and blah, and blah. So I always kind of bug him to let it grow longer because when we were married, he had long kind of floppy hair and I really liked it. It's real cute. But yeah, so.
Bob did kind of look like Mario with the mustache.
It's me, Mario.
I mean, he's an Italian guy with a mustache.
Yeah, that's cute. All right. So, I got to do the random thing.
Yeah, Randy Miser.
Randy Miser.
That's to tell us who's going to go first. Someone want to say what we're going to do in case it's someone's first time watching our.
So, since I'm the host, I guess I'll do that. The hostess with the mostest. We have all submitted a piece of work that we've been working on and that we edited and revised or worked on to where we feel like it's ready for critique. And we submitted it. And so we are going to give a full critique of the work. Unlike the podcast, where we just give positive feedback and encouragement, we're going to have bread, which is the good stuff, and a little bit of meat, which is what we think could be improved. Constructive criticism.
All right,
that's
guys.
What we're going to do.
So I have Jen, Jamie, Tina, Rhonda. Oh, and I'm sorry, Jennifer. I spelled your name with 2 N's on my feedback. I'll change it right now.
Do it over. That's word. It. Do it over.
As long as you don't say it with 2 N's, we're good.
I gave the wrong kid a weird name. We spelled Sophia's name Soph, and she's the kid to get all offended when people spell it wrong. And so I'm so thankful for that show, Sophia the First, because now I think at least most kids younger than her will spell her name right automatically, but most people still want to do a PH. Do you like having your name spelled a little differently, Jen, or not so much?
When I was little, it was rough because every other kid had those cool license plates for their bikes, and they would have like pencils with their name on it, and I never could have that. But now I appreciate it because Jennifer's such a common name that I feel like it really represents me as an individual, not just any other Jennifer out there. And when I was I still do this, but when I was growing up, when people would ask me for my name and have to spell it, I would say Jennifer Carl, 1 N 2 L's. So like that was kind of funny. So I don't mind it.
Yeah, my husband.
So I'm first. What I submitted was a complete rough draft. Jamie, I don't know what's my deal about like getting things submitted this month, but Jamie had reminded me again this week, and she's like, "Why don't you just submit something that you've been writing and let us know that it's raw, and I'll get feedback on that." And so that's what I've done, and I appreciate being allowed to do that because it is a nano month. And yeah, so this is the first chapter. This idea has been bouncing around in my head for a very long time. I swore that I already wrote this chapter, but I've been unable to find it anywhere. So I wrote it again. And so I guess I'm just looking for your first take on the characters, on the storyline, and the shattering moment of the first chapter, I guess. Or whatever you want to tell me. I don't care.
You don't care. Ooh, that's good.
I don't care. I do care about what you have, but I don't care. I care that you guys are giving feedback. I don't care what you choose to focus on.
Awesome. So for people who do not know, Jennifer cannot talk while we are discussing her piece.
It's painful.
The booth of silence.
Not to be confused with the cone of shame. All right.
Said the cone of silence. I'm glad I didn't.
All right, Jennifer. So into isolation with you, and who wants to break the ice with Jennifer's piece here?
I love the last line.
Yeah, what a good shattering moment, right?
Yeah, that like you're totally heartbroken for this woman. You're like, yeah, I can see how she's feeling like everybody's just here and nobody's being sincere and nobody really cared about him, and you're just like, man, how horrible. And then the last line, thank you, Lord. I'm happy that he's dead. I was like, okay, now this is a story I can get into. Let's get the next piece. Let's go. Let's move on.
This is my kind of romance.
That's right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The shattering moment completely works. What did you think, Rhonda?
I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't have any meat. I mean, she said it was a rough draft, so I didn't worry about any of the technical writing kind of things, but I am totally interested in this book already. First of all, I love her name. I already feel like she's got some sort of Irish heritage in her, and these are the mountain women, right? So, or the out west women.
Hilarious. Rhonda has like drawn up her family tree and is like,
yes. So Jennifer, if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll tell you all about it. Okay. Now see, when I read this, I didn't read that probably the way that I should have, because when she smiled at the end, I also loved that. I was like, all right, this is gonna be good. But I thought she was smiling because whoever she ran into I thought Mr. McNeil was gonna be her love interest. Because she always puts them together right away. So I thought she was smiling because, well, guy number 1's gone. He's out of my life. Things are changing. Here's guy number 2.
Ooh, she's like a Black Widow, Yeah.
Like, well, I'm wondering, why was she so hard? Was it just because of her life experience, or was her first marriage hard? So that is where my mind is right now.
Well, I did this little thing like I did for all of you ladies, and I took her piece and put it into a Google Doc. And I know it was just a rough draft, but I just went ahead and just grabbed everything that I saw. So even if it's just dumb grammar stuff that she probably would catch in an edit, I just hit everything that I saw. So I'm saying that because my meat or whatever is not so much any grammar thing that I caught, but just little things that I would love spelled out. Like, I would like to know how she already knows Colleen McGuire. No, how she already knows Mrs. Jensen, because she turns over the whole running of the affair to her. And that would make more sense to me if I had a better idea of how they knew each other. Like, did they meet at church? Did they, you know what I mean? How? Because she's like, this is one of the few people that is here who I know already, right? So that was like, if I was going to have meat on something that's so rough, those were the things that I would wish that she would go and flesh out when she hits this again. And so, again, like to your point, Rhonda, I would like to know how she is different, because she says that her voice changed and became more melancholy over the years. I would like to know how that's different than how she used to be. Maybe just some little hint that she used to be a happy-go-lucky, carefree girl from Chicago or whatever. And you know what I mean? To contrast with the melancholy person that she is today. But again, I know all that stuff is going to get fleshed out in a second draft, but just in the interest of having critique points for the benefit of our listeners, those are things that I would ask from the author on a second pass. So anyway, that's pretty much the most of my meat is those 2 points, and then some little grammar things that I did catch and just thought I would point out to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted to know is where she came from. Like, she didn't put that. I don't know if she wasn't sure or if that was a typo, because it said when she moved from to Texas, but there was no place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was
so
no caps lock state.
Yeah.
I feel like knowing where she came from would give us some more context for the story.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
her
'cause she's a
family
city girl.
emigrated to Boston from Ireland back in 1849. The potato famine, you know. Okay. Anyway,
That's awesome. Yeah, but again, that's stuff that certainly she would probably fill. I mean, this is a nano piece, right? You're getting the information down so that you can go back and fill in the other stuff later. And so I have every faith that this author would probably instinctually do those things. But again, just for the sake of somebody who's reading this and may not catch something like that in their own work, I think it's good to talk about.
Right.
So anything else that you guys, what did she ask for? Like, I am interested in this story. She had asked for that. Yes, it's a win.
Love the shattering moment.
And I loved how she did the comments, the whispered comments in the beginning without any dialogue tags. It was very effective.
Mm-hmm.
That poor dear, whatever will she do now? And just boom, 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 different things that people are whispering about her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all I've got to say about that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just really well done, and I want to know why she's happy.
Yeah.
She's dead. I want to know that whole story.
Very excited to hear more.
Yes.
All right. So should we let her out to discuss with us?
Rhonda? Got anything else to say?
No, I pretty much covered.
Yeah, let's let her out.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Black Widow, that's hilarious. That's awesome. So Mr. McNeil, so Rhonda, the romance reader, picked up on that very quickly, but no, she's not saying thank you, Lord, because he's back or he's there. She is saying thank you, Lord, because she's glad he's dead. So all of what you guys said, Jamie, to your meat, all those hints, like how does she know Mrs. Jensen? And where is she from? The from was supposed to be taken out. Originally I put where she's from, and I just felt like, if you'll notice, this chapter is really short, and I did that on purpose. It was supposed to be like really getting you to the thank you, Lord. That's really all I needed to do. And so all those little bits and pieces I purposely left out because I want you to turn the page and answer those questions yourself. Now, Boston, great idea. My original thought was, and she is Irish. That is what she is. My original thought was straight from Ireland, but stopping first in Boston and that not working out would be even better. And plus, then I get to put my other hometown in there. So I would love to do that. So that I'm glad you said that out loud.
What's the time frame of this?
1867. 68.
Oh, cool.
After World War, after the Civil War. Yep. When people would have, the war would have been over and people would have come back home if they're from the South and would not have any property left or whatever, or people that were from the north would be, there's all this frontier land that the government was selling for very cheap. And so the story is McNeil, who also has Irish heritage. I don't know why. These characters decide to be Irish, but they decided all on their own. My thoughts are that that Mr. McNeil, which I'm still trying to decide if it's Cade or Shane. I like both those names. Mr. McNeil fought for the North, but his family's from the South. And so he basically came back to nothing. He had nothing. So he went to the frontier just to start life over because he basically had to walk away from everything. And I don't know if she's a mail order bride or if because of family connections, married this man who was Irish. But yes, there's a story there. And yes, she's happy he's dead. And you'll have to wait for future chapters to find out why and what's going to happen next between her and McNeil.
Okay, just as a reader, can I ask you, you said he fought for the North, his family was for the South. He came back to nothing. Did that include family that was mad at him for fighting on the other side?
Because they're mad at him. His family is still there. And that, of course, I'm probably going to have that play in. He has a broken heart. So that will play in. And so, in romance, they have to have baggage, right? So his baggage is that the one woman he was ever going to love rejected him because of, his choice to fight for the North. So he's never going to love again. And she has been hardened over the years. You find out next chapter that McNeil and she met early on. And so you get to kind of see a little bit of who she was before, not much though. But so then that's her baggage, is that she's never going to be put in a position where she has a man lording over her again or something like that. I think that's the direction I'm going. So.
Well, I think that I would change my critique then if you would say that you were going to leave that all as is, because I have a difficult time caring about what happens to her right now because you don't have any of those details in there. All that I have to propel me forward is that shattering moment. I don't know anything about her or who she is or why I should care that her husband is dead. So I was thinking that you were going to add that stuff in later, but you're saying that you're not. So I would just ask you to maybe reconsider adding a little something just to make us feel emotionally connected to her. And I also then feel it's unrealistic for her to just hand over the running of a wake to somebody if you're just saying, well, I already know her. So the reason I had said that those things need to be in there is because they would make me feel like the story was more relatable or realistic or something. But again, it's totally author's choice. If you think it's important to maintain the integrity of those choices, then by all means, you should just ignore it.
No, I think I can do both. I think that what you're seeing that is missing is the emotional pull to like this person. And so I don't need to give info to do that. I need to show some emotion. So there needs to be probably a little bit more of an emotional play between the Mrs. Jensen and Colleen for you to see a little bit of who Colleen is inside without giving away that she's happy that her husband's dead till the very end. So
right. Yeah. I
good
think that's true.
Yeah, good critique. So yeah, I will look at that again.
Awesome. Well, Jen, I think you succeeded to writing something that people are going to care about. So awesome. Really good. Really good.
Thanks.
Now, is this staying in Texas? Because I thought at some time you mentioned Montana. Is that just a different book?
See, so I wanted to do Montana, but I found a bunch of research and a video series and stuff on Texas. And I feel like I have so much more research for Texas. So I feel like Montana is so beautiful. So my plan is to do a series called Widows of the West. I don't have that series all planned out yet. So maybe they won't be in the same town. Maybe it'll just be different widows across the West. I don't know, or maybe not. So
yeah. Well, we probably need to have a writer's retreat in Montana first anyway.
Yeah. We can have a writer's retreat period. Like we really need to do another. I'm missing out on camping with you ladies. Camping. In a house.
I think it's
glamping. Awesome. All right, Jennifer, does your back feel well fed?
Very well fed. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm just
Jamie was next. Right?
Yeah, just dying to have my turn. So, you guys had sort of by request. This again was a writing exercise based on the Carnival storyline from my other writing group. Carnival disaster happened. One of the Carnival workers was killed on the teacups, and this is the aftermath, the town finding out about it and things like that. I don't know. I hope not. I see she's muted. She might have had to cough or something, or the dogs were barking or something like that.
The dogs.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, just kind of want to know what you guys think of it and take it away. That's all. Bye.
All right. I'd like to start if I could.
Okay.
This is the piece that I remember. Remember last week when I thought that I remember the guy in the coffee shop? Because this piece, I loved this piece to begin with, and I still love it. The whole thing with the ice, and he's trying to stop smoking, and when she says the guys made lewd comments about her body, but he lusted over the glowing white stick nestled between her fingers. Like that, I don't know, that was just so rich right there. It just drew me right into his story, and it just kept getting better. I just really, really love this piece.
I agree with the white stick thing. Like that was like, it was almost sexual. Like, and that was her intent, because she like compared it to how the men were like lusting after the woman. And then it just really made me feel like, because I've never smoked, but like I understood it at that point. I feel like I knew like this person is so like wanting this cigarette. I really enjoyed this piece. I love the detail. I feel like I got a little bit caught up in some extra detail, which is weird, because normally I'm asking for more from this author. But but besides like just a few grammar things and capitalizations where it shouldn't be and things like that, like it was a good solid piece. Like just, it makes you want to really know more. And it makes me question too, like I've read it a couple times, and like, did he actually see her push him? I don't think he did. At first I thought he did, because he said if only she hadn't pushed him. But then later on he's like, oh, can they tell that from an autopsy? Like he didn't, I feel like he didn't really know. So that's like the question I'm left with, which is good, because it makes me want to turn the page to the next chapter, which I hope there would be another chapter for this. So really well done. I like the characters. I feel like I could see them in my mind's eye. Just always, characters are like king with this author. So good.
Yes.
I don't have any meat for this piece. I think it is so well edited. It's absolutely complete. And there's nothing that needs to be added to answer any questions for me, and nothing needs to be taken away. I think it's just fantastic. And I will tell you that this probably will tell you too much about me, and I know I laughed at this the first time too, but the line, yeah, well, Butch got around last night. Around and around and around. Oh my word. I was on the treadmill this morning rereading this, and I was laughing in the gym. I just love that line. But anyway, I love the story. I am so glad that she's, sounds like she's going on with it.
Yeah, and it's just so much richer for me because I remember us all writing this story together in that writing group. And we each had a character. For those who didn't watch the postcast last time, it was a writing prompt where we each had a character, and each of our characters was a different witness for a death, and that was the carny that went under the teacups and got killed. And so, like, I was the bearded lady, and I don't remember who you were, Rhonda.
I think I was the mom with 2 daughters, or maybe that was for a different prompt.
Anyway, it was just really fun and each person had their own version. We didn't talk about who did it, like who, if the woman who was arguing really killed him or not. Like we just all wrote our version of what we saw that day at the thing. So it was really fun, and I just really love this piece.
What a great novella would it be as if she wrote a bunch of chapters, all of it from a different person's perspective, without repeating that person's perspective, to where it starts to show and reveal little bits of evidence through different people's eyes, until at the very end we know who did it without having to be told who did it. That would be a great novel. Even if she had to do like third person omniscient or something, like at the end, to like basically tell us that we're right or not, or maybe not. Like that would just be that'd be great. And she's talented enough to do that. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have anything else to say? All right. Let's let her out.
All right. Well, I had to say thank you so much for the wonderful, glowing comments. Yeah, I have grammar issues. I'm probably sure, but I have my own meat, and I feel like if I were, because I just submitted this without really super hard working on it, because at the time that it was due, now that I think about it, I've had 3 weeks. I could have gone back. I think I might finesse the interaction with the Mexicans only because it feels fast that they're in and then they're out. Like I might have wanted to build a little more tension there of more of a standoff stare down before they take off and run away. So that's my own meat for this particular piece. But I really like this character, and I really like the torch he carries for that waitress. And this is one of the pieces that I wrote that, yeah, I remember writing this one. Do you know what I mean? So when you're just pounding out 1,000 words a day and you're writing this story and that story and the other, you kind of I think get your favorites. Uh-oh, did I get disconnected?
No.
Oh, everybody was frozen for a minute. So anyway, that would be my own personal meat for this. I really do appreciate your guys' feedback about the guy trying not to smoke. And it's funny because I was a smoker. I started later in life, which is very strange. Usually people are smoking in their teens if they're ever going to be smokers. And then I quit, just cold turkey quit. But it's amazing how sometimes like you just want to have a cigarette, and I'll be walking past a whole ashtray full of smoked cigarettes and just have this craving to just pull one out and smoke it. It's the weirdest, but it's a battle that you do occasionally struggle with for a very long time after the fact. And it's funny too, I wrote this guy as a smoker, and this is about the same time that I wrote my biker story, or ish. It's funny how my people are smokers. I think that sometimes I feel like it's a personality of someone that's got a lot going on, or a fallen person just trying to deal with life. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah.
Can I ask a couple questions? First of all, where were the Mexicans? I missed that. Did I miss that?
Well, they're carny workers. And they were talking about frijoles and stuff. So in my mind, they're Mexicans. I just didn't describe them as such, possibly.
I don't remember. That's what I'm saying. I don't see that at all on here. Did I miss that entirely?
Am I not talking about the same piece that you guys are? They're at a diner, and then she comes in.
Yeah, no, we're in the diner, but there's no conversation about frijoles or
what?
anything.
That's interesting. Well, I'll have to solve that mystery, because I wonder what you guys got then. What are you guys even reading? Because that's totally what this story is.
So my second question is, while you're looking that up, my second question is, did he see her push? Or is he just assuming that she did it because of everything he saw leading up to the push?
When I wrote this, he saw it. But what he is hoping is that they're going to be able to get her off, because he does not like the carnival workers. This town is full of small-minded people, and he is one of them. And he just wants them to go away, whatever. And yeah, one of them is dead, but he doesn't care that much. He wants his hometown girl to be vindicated. So that's why he's hoping that they're going to be able to get her off of the charges, because he's hoping that they can prove that maybe their forensics will show that she didn't push him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how I'm feeling like this guy's thinking.
Okay.
Gosh, now I'm really wondering what you guys
all.
all.
Mexicans were maybe after, and you didn't put the whole piece.
No, I'm gonna have to look and see.
I
So I only gave you the first part. Maybe. What is the last thing that it says? Sorry, I just can't find it in my Dropbox.
As he stopped his yolk with his toast.
Oh, you guys don't have the end. You guys only have the beginning. Yay! Because now I know what I can keep for next week.
I forgot to mention that was like my favorite line right there. Was autopsies for just that sort of thing can tell you all about how a person died from slicing them open and having a good look. Bill said as he stopped his yolk with his toast. Like it's so good. Like he's doing an autopsy. Like it just, the whole thing fit like so great. Like that's my favorite the whole thing.
Yeah. He's a gross person. So yay. I'm glad that you guys like that. And now I can send you the rest for another time. Yay. Thanks. Awesome. All right. So who did I say was next? And thank you for the feedback, guys.
I think it was me.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Who was going to be last? You girls remember?
I'm sorry. I got so many windows open here. Hold on. I can tell you. Maybe I
know
can't
I
tell
wasn't last, so it's got to be me.
So it's got to be you, Bambina. All right. What kind of feedback are you looking for?
Just tell me what you think. This is I've been trying to work on the blurb for my back cover, and part of it is there's one line that I want to put on the front cover, like maybe above the title at the very top. And so I'm just trying to think about my blurb and whether I want to write it myself. There's a whole bunch of experts and professionals out there that say get somebody else to write your blurb for you. So I just kind of want to get feedback on it, so I kind of have a feel of if I'm on the right track or if I just need to beg someone else to do it for me.
Well, before we go ahead, Jen, what are you going to say?
I'm just going to ask a quick question. Did you use any resources before, like any books or any like advice?
Yeah, I did a whole bunch of research, and I read a whole bunch of articles, and
Okay.
So, because I was just going to say that this may be something that we have to have a whole podcast about, because it's one of those things where there's schools of thoughts about it and quote unquote a right way and a wrong way to do something. And everybody has their own pet formula and whatnot. And so that's going to color whether or not we think you've done a quote unquote good job, right?
Yeah.
Because if we subscribe to the, I don't know, Susie Q school of thought about what a blurb should or should not be. So you'll have to take our critique with a grain of salt in that case, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. And it's really, even though my book falls into the Christian dystopian fiction category, a lot of the Christian dystopian fiction books that are out there are like more modern. Technology has failed and they're in the modern world trying to get by. And mine is almost like a throwback to like ancient times of trying to survive in the wilderness with nothing. And so they don't fit. My book just doesn't fit. And so
all right.
when I read, one of the assignments was to read a whole lot of blurbs in my genre. And I just feel like my book didn't fit into that. So it's just I'm just struggling. So.
Okay. So into isolation you go while we talk about it.
Okay.
Who wants to talk first?
I'll go first simply because I haven't done all the research into writing a blurb that you guys have. And so I was reading this just as if I was in the bookstore picking a book up to read it. And I also compared it to the blurb she had sent me when I was working on her original cover. And I think this is great. I think it tells me exactly what I need to pick the book up and want to read it. I don't think it's too wordy. And, it's 1,000 times better than the original one she had. And I know that's not probably the litmus test for writing a blurb. But anyway, I think the top line, if that's the line she wants on the front of the cover, is good.
I was trying to be just like Rhonda when I approached this, because I have read this is what a blurb should be and this is what this should be. Because what happens is when people are seeing dismal sales and they reach out and they say, why is my book not selling? People turn to their cover and their blurb, and then they'll look inside for editing. And then those are the things that they sort of say, here's why your book isn't selling. Your blurb should look like blah, blah, blah. So I tried to just kind of erase all of that out of my mind and be like Rhonda, if I picked this up and looked at it in a bookstore, would it be enough to get me to buy? I love it. It does a good job of telling me what the story is about. So win, bonus. I do like whoever she got the suggestions of. I know she said there's a formula, like ask a question or put in 3 points. It works, I think. My critiques, my meat would be that I want it shorter. And then I had some like word choice things that I would do differently personally that I'm going to share with the author. Like, for example, in the 400 years ago paragraph, I would take of the coming of. I would just put living under the law of Moses, unaware of a promised Messiah, for example, right? It makes it punchier. It doesn't, so those kinds of things I'm going to send to the author. But I do think that this is totally heading in a very good direction. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Okay, so the reason I asked her the question at the very beginning, because when I first even looked at it in the format, all I saw was Brian Cohen. And then for those that are listening, if you've never read his book, How to Write a Sizzling Synopsis, that's $4 you will spend on Kindle in your entire life if you're an author. So I assumed that she had read that, but she didn't mention it. So I'm gonna critique it as if she hasn't read it, and that she should, because she's got it. She's so close. Like, the format's good. I do like the front tag. The idea, I like the three things: a Bible torn in two, people bound by law, a girl in need of grace. So I do like all that. But having said that, there are a few things that why maybe it doesn't feel quite there yet is when we read it, Angelica isn't even mentioned until halfway down. Now, is the story about Angelica, or is the story about 400 years ago, last known copy of the Bibles? So is it about the Bible? I know the Bible is a big part of it, and the Bible is part of like what causes the story to happen, but the story is about Angelica. So your blurb needs to introduce us to Angelica much faster than that. And I agree with what Jamie said, that want it shorter. There are certain things in here that aren't necessary, like the word southern boundary. I know that's important as we're reading the story, but if you had changed it in the story to northern boundary, would it make a difference in the story? And if it doesn't, then it shouldn't be in your blurb, because you only get like a couple hundred words to pull someone in. So, but I think that it's a great rough draft. So she's got the things that she needs in it. We just need to tweak it. So instead of starting off with about the Bible and how many years ago it was, for Angelica, living in the law of Moses has never been easy. But as the high priest's daughter, each time she offers a sacrifice, forget that sentence. And each time she offers a sacrifice for atonement, the lack of proof of forgiveness and the lack of love from her high priest father just seemed to push her farther and farther from the God of her ancestors. But when a revelation from her grandfather reveals that the scriptures the refugees live by is only half the story, Angelica must decide to remain in the protection of the village, whatever she wants to call it, living in condemnation, or cross the southern border. I put southern border in there, in search of the missing gospel, and then go into the other stuff that she wrote. What will become of Angelica? Blah, blah, blah. So do you see how I've changed it? Like, it's all the same stuff she wrote, but we're making the focus Angelica, not like then this happened, then that happened, then that happened. And in his book, it's a quick read. There's one chapter. What's the name of the chapter? It's like halfway through, but it's basically, you don't even have to read the book if you want to go fast. You just go to that chapter, and it says number one, do this. Number two, do that. And then that'll give you, she could take this and I think really make it something that will be like, ooh, I got to read this book, as opposed to, oh, that sounds interesting.
Did you type that up and share it with her? Because
I can. She doesn't have to take it
to try to absorb, just as you reading it off. And I don't know, like if you held them side by side, because so what I'm imagining is letting her out of isolation and her saying. So for my genre, it is more about 400 years after the Bible was torn. This is, you know what I mean? So like, would your argument be it's always about the character? Like, is this just a different way to accomplish a similar goal? Or are you saying your way is better by some measurable statistic or something?
Brian Cohen's book isn't genre based. It's not about romance books. It's not about like any type of genre. It is for all books that are fiction. So I would argue that, and plus we've read the book. I know the book isn't all about the history of the Bible being torn in half. It's a huge part of what makes the story work. It's a plot point, but it's not the story. The story is about Angelica. And it's character driven. So we need to meet Angelica as quickly as possible in this so that we know that. Otherwise, someone might pick this up and think they're picking up a history book, or, not quite a history book, but you know what I mean? So yes, I would still argue with her that she needs to restructure it where Angelica comes into play much quicker.
That's very interesting.
All righty. Anyone else have anything to add before we let her come on out? All right, then I guess come on out, Bambino. Let us know what you think.
Hold on. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, because I had it on mute. I am just looking up. I know that Brian Cohen was a big influence on what I did when I read, but I don't have his book. I watched a podcast. It might have been self-publishing formula podcast, or it might have been something else, where he was kind of covering the main points.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have like the book. I just had like whatever he said on that podcast that I remembered, and I really liked like the 3 statements. But yeah, you're right. See, that's the problem. One of the problems they said to writing your own blurb was you're too connected to the story, and
you feel like everything is important, so you want to include everything in
Right.
it, but it really isn't. Yeah,
I like there's this part of me that's like, oh my gosh, they have to know that the Bible was torn in 2 and that it's 400 years later. But really, I liked the one that you did, and it covers what needs to be known without me having to explain how it happened.
right.
And so that's part of me being too attached to my story and wanting to say, because when people ask me in real life and I'm standing around what my book's about, I always start with that. The Bible's been
Yeah, and see, I guess that's why
100
I'm
years
feeling
later.
so resistant to this, is because I feel like that's what makes your book different than any other of the million books I've ever heard of in my life. When you first told me about your story, you're like, the Bible's torn in half and these people only have the New Testament. I'm not going to give a rat about another girl living in a dystopian world trying to overcome some random challenge. And so I guess that's why I'm pushing back. I don't know how, like, to me, that's the alluring part of the story. These people who are all living under New Testament. So maybe if you say Angelica living in this society, I don't know how you fix it, but I'm just saying to eliminate the fact that these people are living with only half the Bible is to eliminate what makes the whole story even interesting to me.
I didn't say eliminate it. I know it's hard because you're listening to me read it, not reading it in front of you. But first of all, she has the Bible torn in 2 as the very first thing they read in bold. And then what I wrote, and what I wrote is just for flavor. Like, you put it in your words, you do you. But like, I just want you to see how it would feel to have it focus on Angelica and not on the story or on the what's happening on the plot. But when the revelation from her grandfather reveals that the scriptures the refugees live by is only half the story, something along those lines. So it's there. You're just leading your reader to it. You start off with the Bible torn in 2, and that makes me go, wait, what? How, is it just a Bible? The Bible? What is it? So
right.
Yeah. So I'm not saying eliminate it. That would be horrible. You have to have that.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
So I because I'm always, whenever someone asks me what my book's about, I don't always say that first. I guess that's why I put it first in my blurb, because like in my mind, that's what the idea was to begin with, and Angelica came along after the fact.
Right.
So
I guess an elevator pitch and a blurb are different, right? The elevator pitch has its purpose and the blurb has its purpose, but they don't have to be exactly the same.
Right.
I would say.
So I've just been struggling, like knowing that it's not quite right, but not sure how to get there. And so it's maybe I'll just have to bite the bullet and buy that book and read it, and maybe that will help me.
Well, and I think if Jennifer shares what she did too, that will help you to see how a different structure might be the missing piece, like she was saying.
Right.
So if she is willing to share what she typed up, and then you can compare it to what is in that book, you can figure out what makes the recipe that you think is the winner.
Right. Because it has to feel authentic to you. I mean, I know that you can hire someone else to write your blurb, and it's fine because it happens in traditionally published books all the time. The person who wrote the book did not write their blurb. They have someone on staff that does that doesn't even read the book. So I get that, but I feel like as an indie author that it needs to feel like the blurb was also written by Christina Catane, in my opinion. But so.
Yeah, and I would like to write the blurb if I can get it right. You know what I mean? Like if I think you can't, then I'm willing to.
No, I think you, Tina, I think you can. I think that this is so close. I think if it wasn't this close, I would not have been able to give this much meat. And I hope you don't take that as offense. Like I honestly, I had this much to give you because you gave me this much. Does that make sense? Like it's.
And I'm really grateful to you for doing that, because it's kind of waking up ideas in my mind. And
good.
So
yeah, because
really
I mean, so So just because someone else writes it doesn't mean it's going to be right either. So, I mean, you have to have a standard that you think it meets. I mean, Rhonda and I both said we would buy your book based on what you wrote. So if it's not meeting your version of right, then you need to keep working on it. But I don't know how you would objectively say, well, I did it wrong, or I didn't do it as good as someone from the outside would have done it. Like, how do you even say I should have hired it out because I did it wrong? Like, I mean, you can't. You have to do it to where you're satisfied with it.
Right. And really, I'm just going on my gut. My gut was just like, it's just not quite there. And I didn't really know how it wasn't there, but I knew it wasn't. So that was really helpful.
It took me months to write mine. Do you remember when we were sitting in Barnes and Noble?
Yeah.
And I was walking around asking people in the romance section if they would let me read it to them?
Yeah.
That was Amy's idea. So like it took me months. So, I think you're so much farther ahead than I was at that point. So I think you're almost there. I think once you tweak it a bit, give it some time and marinate and then tweak it again, I think you're going to be really happy with it.
I hope so.
Awesome. It's a big part of publishing is figuring that stuff out.
I mean, and that's what causes people to know whether they want to read your book. So I just feel like it's critically important.
I agree. I can't tell you how many people said to me when I released the blurb weeks before, would say to me, I can't wait to read it. Well, that's all they had was the blurb, so that it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, great. Thanks, guys.
All righty.
So it is Rhonda's turn in the silent.
All right. So I guess you feel well fed.
I do. And I feel really helped.
That's awesome. All right. So Rhonda, what do you want from us? What do you want from me, Rhonda?
Well, this is chronologically next from what you read last time. And it's right now, as far as we're concerned, completed. When we go back through and we may change a couple things, but anyway, just whatever you want to say about reading this as a complete book.
Can you just refresh my memory what we read last time?
Yeah.
Last
I thought
time,
this was a new piece. I don't remember this at all.
Yep. The one last time was, oh, well, yeah, you probably wouldn't actually. So this is the very first scene and a third of the first chapter. And the book that we're writing after we complete the one we're doing right now, Mom had written this a couple years ago, and so we're going to go back to it and revisit it after we're done with our Z and Tom story.
So these are all new people to us. Like we.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now the prologue to this one is the one where the man killed the old man and he was looking for something, and
he's rummaging around in the house.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
okay.
it would seem all brand new to you. So this is the intro to a new book.
Okay.
Okay. Into the Chamber of Silence.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I would like to go first just because I have not a whole lot of meat. And so if to leave kind of time for other people. I did my little Google Docs treatment. Beads of perspiration peppered her upper lip is very nice. I took a few prepositional phrases out or something that I like in her chest I didn't like. So I said you should take it out. But again, whatever, people can do what they want. I added the word center to counsel because whatever. So little piddly things like that I suggest, but she can do it or not. I did say, what happened to staying there until it got dark? So she parks trying to hide under the cover of darkness, but then she pulls out and drives away again. That was confusing to me. Down on the bottom of page 2. And then that's really all that I had. I was just a little confused what her motivations were, and that didn't make sense to me. That was my only meat. Other than that, it's pretty solid.
I think it was close to dark. So I think that she did sit there until it turned dark. That's how I read it, but maybe I missed that. But that's how I read it. I was on the edge of my seat for this whole thing. Like I just really, really bought into it that she was running for something. And I thought, did she steal this car? Like she doesn't know anything about the inside of this car. So I'm thinking that she's the bad guy. you know, so she's stolen a car. And then at the end, when the police pull her over, I'm like, oh my gosh, no, what's going to happen? And then she calls the guy by name. So shattering moment, like, I love that. You know me. I'm like, I can't wait to turn the page and figure out, like, is he the bad guy? Like, is she running from the cops because they're crooked? And so, yeah, well done. The only meat I would have is like, there's like tornado should not be capitalized and like little things like that, that I think that on a final edit they would catch anyway. And then the fact that there's a double return after the second paragraph made me think that there was a time change, but there's not. As you read, you realize that there's not. So that's, I know nothing, but you don't want that in your final book. Other than that, like, I love the character. I love the speed at which the story went. Just enough detail for me to like be involved without getting lost in the detail. I thought this is great. I loved it.
I love the name Beryl Malone.
I like Beryl. You don't hear that anymore.
Absolutely really love that name. And to me, that is the name of a detective, a female detective. Like, that is, in my mind, that's the quintessential female detective name. And so, because in my mind, from the first two words, I had female detective, I'm wondering what the heck is she doing? Hiding, and then being mad that the cops are pulling her over, and then saying, hello, Sam. And so I'm wondering if Sam is like a dirty cop.
Right, that's what I wondered too.
In my mind. So, like, I don't really have any meat. It was a little confusing about the time frame in there. Like, it was almost dark, and then it was raining, and then she left. I don't think I pictured it being dark as she left, because she was talking about the heavy clouds and the chances of a tornado. So I kind of pictured where it was still a little light and there were dark clouds. Right. But I mean, they can fix that or not. It really didn't take away from the story for me.
It would only take like one sentence, right? To say once she thought it was dark enough, comma, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
so that shattering moment. I'm like, all right, who is this Sam guy, and why is she hiding from him?
And does he like green eggs and ham?
Yeah,
I want to know if he's good looking. So that's the stories I write.
Maybe Sam is a girl.
Oh, that just ruined it for me. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, great. This is a great beginning to a book that I would love to read, because I love this genre. And
oh yeah, the meat about it not being dark yet is just a very thin piece of baloney. It's a one sentence fix, or whatever. Again, I did my little Google Docs treatment and shared it, but it's done. I mean, she's like, well, we think that this is finished, and it is. Again, just to edit, like Jen said, about whatever little piddly stuff that might have escaped the first time.
If part of the assignment was not to find some meat, I would not have found any meat.
Right.
And so here we are reading these things like, okay, I got to find some meat. Where if I was just reading this to read it, I would have like totally dismissed that. What time is it, or what does the sky look like? I wouldn't even thought about it, because in my mind, that's what it is, and that's what it'll be. Unless she says it's actually dark, then it can be as light or dark as I want it to be, because I'm the reader.
Right. True.
Yeah. So there you go.
I kind of like stories like that too, that like don't tell me everything to think. Like, I like to be able to figure things out, or like put my own spin on it. Yeah.
All right, out they come, or she comes. What do you think, Rhonda?
Thank you guys. That was wonderful feedback. I really appreciate that. You're not getting any answers, so don't ask. But I like some of the things you guys said that might spin something off. We will work on the weather. I appreciate what you said, Tina. I'm kind of the same. When someone describes a face, I always have a face pictured anyway, and if it follows it, it follows it. But we will work on that, just for people it would confuse. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, especially if I'm going into this, okay, and you're in a murder mystery sort of a mindset, you like that kind of a detail. Was it dark when she left or not? Is it possible that someone could have seen her pulling out? Do you know what I mean? And you're the one who says she has to wait until it gets dark. Like, if you wouldn't have said that the reason she's waiting is to like hide under the cover of darkness, then I wouldn't be waiting to hear that it finally was dark enough to drive away.
Good point.
So since you're the one who brought it up, you're the one who's expected to then resolve it for the reader, right? And it did stumble me, right? Like, so I mean, I'm reading, and I'm like, wait a minute, she's driving away, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, it's just a writer's choice.
Mm-hmm. Thin piece of bologna. I like that.
Yeah, nice Carl Buttig
thin piece of flat hot dog.
a little thin piece of flat hot dog.
I would say it was just a little bit of liverwurst spread on some toast.
Yummy! I love liverwurst.
I do.
Oh my gosh! Because of you, I've been thinking of buying Braunschweiger just to try it because you said it was so good, and I'm like, but it's liver. How could it be good?
Yeah.
It's not.
What does it taste like?
Liver.
Is it oniony? Is it?
No.
Well, I usually buy garlic.
I've been to Frankenmuth
and got the big meal where the chicken and everything, and they bring the at Zender's, and they bring out the liver pate.
Okay, so the last time I did that, I was a child, and if there was pate involved, I do not recall. And if there was pate involved, I probably would have said no, thank you. Okay, without even taking 3 no thank you bites.
It's very similar to the liver pate, if you've ever had that.
Have you ever opened up a can of cat food and thought, I want some of that? Because
it's totally not unlike that.
So Jen, you don't care for like meat spread, like meat, you know, like someone makes like a cheese ball with meat in it that you put on crackers, like you don't like that kind of a like spreadable meat, or?
Oh no, I love like ham salad and bologna salad.
Bologna salad.
It's just ham salad where they like you grind it up and you put like sweet relish and mayonnaise in it.
It's like ham.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how you would make tuna fish, but you grind up bologna and make it. You're saying?
Kind of, actually.
Yeah, but that's different. Like that, you had to grind it up, and then it's like, you know, this is like it starts out mushy and doesn't get any better from there. Like,
you wouldn't like put it on a cracker.
I think you're buying the wrong brand, Tina or Jamie. Jennifer, blah.
No, I ain't buying any of the brands, sister.
And even better than the Braunschweiger is liver sausage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Jamie, just go buy a little tube, and if they have the garlic variety there, that might help. I do like that more.
And you have to use Miracle Whip, in my opinion, on your sandwich.
Yes, but if you're just going to do crackers, just slice it like you would pickled bologna, which is also delicious.
Yes, it is good.
Yeah.
My husband had to get pickled bologna because he was in Michigan just 2 days ago. And, you know, there's nothing like, I mean, Michigan has it down, hands down with hot dogs and, you know, pickled bologna and stuff like that. Yeah, you can't. Well, see, I'm from Detroit area, so for me, it's Kowalski.
Oh, yeah.
It's an ongoing debate in our house, which is preferable, and we each are hoping to win over the kids to our view of the hot dog war. But now that we're not in Michigan anymore, it's a little bit more difficult. My son seems to be a Kowalski kid, and the jury is still out on the other two because they're not hot dog people in general. So there is a difference, isn't it weird?
In Florida?
No, you can't get a good hot dog in Florida. Well, there's some that are close. Like there's this one brand, it's Frank's German style hot dog, because then it's in the natural casing and it has a snap. And to me, it tastes like the seasonings that you would get at a Kowalski sort of a hot dog. Was the closest I've been able to find so far. So you try to do the boar's head, but everything. Do you know how like when you get a Nathan's hot dog, it has that overly salty, smoky sausage flavor and not a hot dog? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what the boar's head in natural casing is. It's still that sausage. It's not a real hot dog. So that is one thing that we will look forward to on our trips to Michigan, is going over to Starlight or to a National Coney Island and having a good old hot dog.
Starlight just opened another restaurant.
Yes.
I heard
it open finally?
Yeah.
How do you think it'll do over there? Everything else is closing over there, so
I don't know. There's a little there's a deli / meat store in Little Falls and Pierce, Minnesota. They got 2 locations called Thielen's Meats. And whenever we're in Minnesota, like I bring a cooler with me so I can go to Thielen's Meats and buy as much of their wieners as I can possibly get, because they are even better than Kogel's or Kowalski's. They're just so good. And they can't get them anywhere else. So, because they make them themselves. So,
so are you ladies hungry? Because we started the episode with food. We're ending it with food. Just curious.
I am starving. And I've
Yes,
got a pint of Angelo's Coney sauce in my fridge right now, and I think I've got hot dogs too. So,
How long will it take me to make lunch? Because I'm leaving now.
all right. Well, ladies, it's been great to hang out with you again. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope that the people who are watching our postcasts are learning things and will tell their friends to get a subscription to our Patreon. It's very reasonable. When Tina said today in the podcast it was $2 a month, I'm like, wow, are you kidding me? That is an amazing amount of content for just $2 a month. And so, if you like what we're doing and it's helping spread the word. That's all I have to say about that.
You pretty much said it all.
Oh, you guys are great. Good to hang out with you. I'm going to go make some lunch.
Yeah.
Me too. Hot dog time.
All right.
Fun time today, guys. Bye.
Bye.